What's up guys, it's Will back again, and today's review is Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope. Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope is a 1977 sci-fi space opera film that was directed by George Lucas and is the first installment in the long-standing phenomenon we now know as the Star Wars film series. Episodes 4 through 7 were originally requested to me by Dennis Sawyer back on my Moana review, but I actually reached out to Dennis and he told me Episode 4 was his favorite, so I'm reviewing that one for him. If you can, remember to request single films and not trilogies so I can get to everyone's request. Trilogies just take longer. But anyway, A New Hope takes place in a galaxy far, far away and primarily follows Luke Skywalker, played by the legendary Mark Hamill. Luke lives with his aunt and uncle on a remote planet named Tatooine and one day comes in contact with two droids named R2-D2 and C-3PO that are carrying a mysterious message from a woman who we now know as Leia, who seems to be in distress and specifically requests the help of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Luke and the two droids eventually find Obi-Wan, played by Alec Guinness, who informs Luke that he needs to become a Jedi Knight and fight the evil Empire and their tyranny that is quickly spreading across the galaxy. Luke and Obi-Wan eventually make a deal with a smuggler named Han Solo, played by Harrison Ford, to fly them to a planet referred to as Alderaan, and the rest of the film is spent watching our crew attempt to rescue Princess Leia and hopefully bring down the evil Darth Vader and the Empire itself in the process. Okay, so you guys know by now that I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so when I saw this request coming up on the list, I got really excited. I mean, you'd be pretty hard pressed to find movie lovers that don't like Star Wars nowadays, especially men in my age range. It's been such a huge cultural phenomenon for so long now that you have to make a pretty concerted effort to not be a part of it. There's basically four certainties of existence now: life, death, taxes, and Star Wars. And it all started back in '77 when George Lucas released A New Hope, one of the most influential and renowned sci-fi films ever made that kickstarted a cultural impact that to this day would be virtually unrivaled. There's many out there that firmly believe that A New Hope is the best Star Wars film ever and therefore one of the greatest films of all time. Hell, AFI, which used a general consensus of 1,500 film critics, artists, and historians, has it listed as the number 13 film of all time, and that's pretty remarkable for a sci-fi movie because films up that high on the list are almost always drama, with a few exceptions obviously. And I actually watched A New Hope a couple times when I was a real young kid, but I was really young and it was hard for me to remember everything that happened, so when I watched it again last night, it was almost like I was watching it with brand new eyes. I obviously knew the gist of what happened, but not exactly where all the pieces fit together to form the larger picture. Regardless though, I was pretty glued to my screen the entire time because I found myself getting super invested in all of these characters. And while A New Hope is certainly an exciting, action-packed 70s joyride, I think what really hooked me here was how interesting and how well acted all the key characters were. Honestly, it's pretty universally recognized that Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford were great in A New Hope. Those three are all legends for a reason, and that reason is that they brought extremely memorable and vivid characters to life on the big screen that will resonate with people for a long, long time. But I think what really caught me by surprise was just how great Alec Guinness was in this movie. I know he's received quite a bit of praise for his work as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I honestly just never realized how great he is in this film. Obi-Wan has always been a beloved character in the Star Wars community, whether it be Alec Guinness's older version or Ewan McGregor in the prequel trilogy, but I think it had been so long since I'd last seen A New Hope, I just forgot how amazing Alec Guinness's work is in it. Another beloved character in the Star Wars community that receives less recognition from the casual fan is Grand Moff Tarkin. I thought Peter Cushing was absolutely fantastic. Tarkin was the character that I was probably most surprised by because as a kid you don't really pay attention to a supporting character like Tarkin, but as an adult you can really just see how much value he brings to A New Hope. He's cold and calculating and really just a brilliantly written and acted character. His CGI character in Rogue One though, not so much. And you know I wasn't gonna skip over Darth Vader. I mean, he's only one of the greatest villains of all time and his introduction in A New Hope is perfect. You don't get a ton of him, but he shows up in the film every now and then, and each and every time he does, James Earl Jones makes that incredibly cold and intimidating presence of Darth Vader felt. Vader's such a great villain because he has resolve. He does whatever needs to be done to get the job done, and his stances on the Empire actually doing good in the galaxy never wavers, not until Return of the Jedi anyway. Great villains like Vader don't believe they're evil, they believe they're doing what needs to be done at any cost necessary, and that's what Vader does. Vader will even choke Imperial officers who step out of line because he is the brute enforcer whose job it is to see that the Empire accomplishes their goals. When someone jeopardizes the success of the Empire's missions, he checks them, and in this first installment alone, Vader's strong villainous presence does wonders in terms of allowing the viewer to understand what the Empire is and what they're all about. So I want to transition to the action, which I briefly mentioned earlier. Here's one thing I'll say: if you're not an avid Star Wars fan and you're planning on watching A New Hope sometime, just be cautioned that this film was released in 1977. The CGI and battle sequences, while spectacular for 1977, aren't going to look spectacular by 2017 standards. I think overall the visuals hold up pretty well considering they're 40 years old, but you shouldn't go in expecting a visual experience like what The Force Awakens offered. But for me, even in 2017, I really enjoyed the action scenes that A New Hope delivers, and super mild spoiler warning here, but I mean, it's been 40 years after all. But the lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader wasn't as underwhelming as I remember it being. It's certainly not flashy, it's actually the opposite of that. It's minimal, but it actually had me feeling tense even though I already knew what was going to happen. It doesn't need to be flashy if the suspense is there, which it certainly is. Now, it's long been noted that George Lucas is bad at writing dialogue. He's even stated before that his dialogue is, quote, wooden, but honestly I thought the dialogue in A New Hope was very well written overall. It probably helped that these great actors could take average to above average dialogue and do wonders with it, but honestly I felt besides a few misfires here and there, this is a very well written film. This is an extremely quotable movie, and for me the best one is,
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Honestly though, I bet George Lucas was referring to his written dialogue in the prequel trilogy. Now there is a lot of wooden dialogue in those films, I'll concede that. But overall, I've really enjoyed A New Hope, and it's even better than I remember it being. I thought it had some fantastically creative and memorable characters, some awesome acting from its cast, some exciting and thrilling sci-fi action, and some very well written dialogue. And there was nothing I didn't like about this film. I'm gonna give Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope a 10 out of 10, and definitely recommend that you check this one out if you enjoy sci-fi and you're looking to catch up on the Star Wars saga. If you're already a Star Wars fan, I'd recommend giving it another watch just for fun. So have you guys seen A New Hope yet? What did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. And also let me know your favorite Star Wars film to date, and actually take it a step further. Rank the 8 Star Wars film thus far in the comments below. I'll rank mine for you too. That's all for now though. This is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.